So if you're hypermobile, you may have a sensation of tightness in the front of the chest, pec tightness, or maybe even your shoulders sit a little forward. You've been told your shoulders are forward, and then you're offered the solution of possibly stretching your pecs. But you just notice the more you stretch, it just irritates your shoulders more, or you actually get subluxations or pain in that position. Here's 3 alternative ways to manage that tightness in the chest, because it's not actually due to shortening of the muscles, it's from other reasons. So the first one, we're going to use a band to get the muscles on the opposite side of the shoulder active, the posterior muscles along the scapula and the shoulder joint itself. So I'm going to use a very light band. This doesn't need to be a ton of resistance. We're just getting some activation of those muscles to lengthen the pectoral in a way that is safe and controlled without overstretching the front of the shoulder, and also giving your shoulder support from the back, because most often the reason it is tight and restricted is because the muscles are guarding to protect against instability and extra laxity in the joint. So we want to give your muscles more activation around your shoulder and your scapula, and that reduces tension and pain. So if I just take the band, you can either hold it in your hands, or this one has loops that I can get my wrist into, so I don't even need to use my hands. I'm going to hold it like this, and you can do this, by the way, in any position. You could be sitting, you can be standing, you could even be laying down if you prefer. And then I'm going to have my thumbs backwards, feet anchored down onto the ground. I'm going to keep my all 10 toes active into the floor. So I'm using the entirety of my foot. I'm softening my knees, my pelvis is neutral, my ribs are stacked, head over everything else. And then all I'm going to do is a very gentle pull of the band outward as I bring my shoulder blades towards each other just a little bit. I'm not trying to pinch them way back, because I'm trying to avoid arching my back, flaring my ribs. I'm just going to get enough pull and activation of the back chain of the shoulders, of the head, the neck, all of those postural stabilizers to give my shoulders more support. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds, standing nice and tall, and then relax. That's actually harder than it looks. I usually even just rest your arms completely in between. And then you can play with the angle. So starting down a little bit lower, it's a little bit easier, and then the higher up we come, it gets a little bit more challenging, and we get a little bit of length of different fibers of the pecs. So you can explore what feels best. So you're potentially starting here and then eventually working up to like a cactus arm position where I'm pulling the band, shoulder blades come together. And this isn't a strength exercise. I'm just activating the muscles in the back half of the shoulder, making sure my spine stays neutral, head stacked on everything else, and then rest. A few rounds of a few seconds is usually all that it takes. And you may notice once you're done with that, you've activated the back of the shoulder, suddenly the front of the chest feels much better. So the next thing we want to do is get the thoracic spine moving, because often the pecs are tight because we have this protective guarding of our musculature around the shoulder and along the upper back, your thoracic spine. So if we can get that rib cage moving, that tends to open things up a little bit more without directly overstretching our shoulders, which gives us trouble. So another way to do that is with gentle thoracic rotation in particular. And I like to do this in standing. You can also do it kneeling if your knee does not give you trouble in kneeling. And then I've got the band here. I'll show you the band version in a moment. But essentially, the first part of the movement is to get your pelvis neutral so that your legs, pelvis, low back is going to stay out of it mostly. So it's mostly your rib cage, upper back that's going to move. And then I'm going to, once I've got my little bit of activation of my core and my glutes here to keep stable in my pelvis, I'm going to reach my arms forward, anchor my shoulders like I'm zipping my shoulders into their sockets as I'm reaching forward. So there's like a tug of war between fingers and shoulders to keep my shoulders nice and stable. There's a string, imaginary string on the top of my head reaching me up as my feet are anchored down. All 5 toes are spread. My arch is lifted. I'm pressing into the floor with even part of my pinky toe side of my foot, my big toe side of my foot, and my heel. And then I'm going to open up into a little bit of a rotation, but it's mostly, instead of it coming from mostly my arm, which can go way far, I'm going to think about moving from my rib cage. I'm going to even squeeze the glute behind me just a little bit, opening up gently. So I'm getting a little bit of length here in the pecs, but I'm mostly rotating my spine, gently looking over my shoulder without straining my neck, and then unwind to come back. I can rest my arms in between, and to make it a little more challenging, or if you just feel like this is very open chain and your arms are feeling kind of floppy, like it's hard to know where they're at in space, adding a little bit of resistance goes a long way to help us know where our body is. So I'm going to find that same position, a little scoop of the tailbone. I'm going to activate my core, zipping up the deep core muscles. My pelvis is going to stay stable, facing forward. Then I'm going to hold the band in front of me with a little bit of tension on it. Again, just enough to know where I'm at, but not enough to feel like I'm working super hard. I kind of like palms up if you can tolerate that. It gets a little more activation of some of your posterior rotator cuff. However, if that doesn't feel great to you, do palms down. It's not a huge deal either way, just pick what's comfortable. And then I've got my same neutral spine alignment, the crown of my head's reaching to the sky, the big toe, pinky toe heel of my foot is anchored, and then I'm going to open up, and again, I'm mostly moving from my rib cage first. I give the band a little bit of a pull. There's like not much tension on it, just enough to help me know where I'm at in space. Take a breath, unwind. So I'm getting length through the pec, getting my spine moving, but in a controlled way where I'm not overstretching. Rotate. My front foot is anchored into the ground, knee forward, back pinky toe is forward. I gently look over my shoulder, staying nice and tall. Take a full breath cycle here. Inhale and exhale. Let the ribs soften down, and then slowly unwind. And then we also can do a reaching overhead type of movement, because that will help us get extension in the upper back, flexion in the shoulders, get some length to the pecs. But again, I'm going to have a prop here to help me so that I don't overstretch, and I have better proprioception. I know where I'm at in space because I have something to push against and keep my muscles active, again, instead of arms just kind of flapping in the wind and not knowing where they are. Alternatively, so we're going to do a reaching forward, just kind of like a dynamic moving cat-cow type motion. And I'm going to have knees hip width apart, hands under my shoulders. I'm going to soften my elbows and spiral them inward ever so slightly, so I'm not locking my arms here. And then find a neutral pelvis position, so we're not locked into extension. I'm not rounded all the way into flexion, so somewhere halfway through. And this is very active, so I'm never just like letting the foam roller do the work. I'm pushing the foam roller like you're rolling out dough. I'm going to reach ahead, so I'm lengthening the upper back. I'm lengthening the pecs as I reach up overhead. My chest comes forward a bit, but at the same time, I'm pressing my arms down into the foam roller. So those lats are active. So I could, if I relax, it would just flop like this. But in fact, I'm holding myself up. So I'm pressing into the foam roller. I'm pressing into my knees, and then I'm rounding as I come back. But again, I'm not forcing it into flexion. I'm just getting a little bit of rounding of the spine. Nice and easy peasy. So I'm going to inhale as I come forward. I'm pressing my arms down, and it's not a massive press too, by the way. It's just like gentle activation, pushing down the whole time. Roll back as I come up. You can also play with the angle of your arms. So if it feels pinchy at all in your shoulders to have your arms straight ahead here, you can come a little wider, make it more of a Y-shaped position. You probably don't want to go like too wide. It gets a little weird out there too, but just play with that angle by a couple of inches to what feels right to you. Alternatively, if this doesn't feel good for your neck for any reason, number one, be mindful of your position. You don't want it head down. We don't want head way up. You want it to be pretty neutral. But if that's hard for you to do, because it is a lot of work to hold your head up against gravity, you can do that same rolling motion against a wall standing up. So I hope you found that helpful. When it comes to managing tightness in a hypermobile body, very often it has more to do with activation of our supporting muscles around our joints, getting our spine and our joints moving dynamically in a way with control rather than just stretching passively, and it can feel much, much better. So leave me a message in the comments below if you found that helpful, and be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more hypermobility tips.